This is The Gauge with host Chance Conradu.
Are you freaking serious? It's Conrado. This is The Gauge, and I am Chance Conrado. On this episode of the podcast, we have got Las Vegas events in the studio. Today is September 9th. We're recording this at the same time, essentially, as the PRCA press conference announcing that the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo is coming to Arlington, Texas at the new Globe Life Arena. We've got Bo Gardner sitting here from Las Vegas events. We're talking about some of the trials and tribulations they've had to deal with thanks to COVID-19, the ongoing search for a venue for the NFR. Will there be an NFR? Thank God the answer is yes. We've got our answers. We don't have all the answers, but we do have some. I think if you're going to tune into anything to try to get some information on what's been going on in the climate of trying to figure out the National Finals Rodeo, this is one to tune into. Bo answers a lot of the questions. I didn't pry too much, a little bit, but he was so kind to take time out of his busy schedule to fly up here and do this with us while the press conference is going on. Check it out.
It was funny. I remember the first time that I talked to Mr. Pointer.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what exactly is 12 gauge range?
Yeah, that's the question we get on a daily basis. It's like, it's actually in the name. It's a ranch.
Yeah.
But,
and I go, okay, look, I'm going to do everything I can to get your assets that you want inside the Thomas and Mack Arena.
Right.
But you have to do everything you can to tell me you're not in competition with any of the other national PRCA sponsors. So you help me, I will help you. And just we were able to get it done.
Yeah, I mean, so the misconception with 12 Gauge Ranch is that it's an apparel company.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. I mean, so we offer some apparel, but that's because if people ask you for shirts and hats,
but it's souvenir, it's merchandise.
It's merchandise.
Right.
It's not
just
like
branding.
Yeah.
Well, it's just logo and branding. But you get to a point when you do anything that's recognizable, and people can be like, "Oh, 12 Gauge Ranch, oh, funny." Like, yeah, but you're never going to forget that name.
Right.
Right. We don't want to be the G2 Bar Ranch because then we're just like every other deal. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so him and my mom and, we've got all these fraternity colts for barrel racing and then cattle ranches and farms kind of throughout the U.S. I mean, we have stuff here in Texas, Missouri, Oklahoma, Florida. It's a ranch, but it's more about creating a brand that's associated with modern cowboys. Right. Like, what had happened was Dustin is my business partner.
Mm-hmm.
We've done this whole deal together, but it's as far as the gauge and all that and trying to bring 12 Gauge Ranch to the next level. But what he noticed himself, because he was a complete outsider, the difference between him and I, or my mom, because it's all of us, it's a family thing,
Sure.
is that he has no background in the sport of rodeo or in the Western world whatsoever. He was kind of brought in as an outsider, but he had a lot of experience with other things. Wildly successful businessman, came from nothing, pool cleaner, worked his way up to and now owns a pool company, the biggest one in the state of Florida by a mile,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, I mean, it's a pretty big thing when somebody goes from no money in their pocket, no home kind of situation and is able to do anything in the world that we live in. So he had met some cowboys at a rodeo in Florida and looked at their shirt. Was like, how much we'll just say Wrangler, just because how much does Wrangler pay you for that on your shirt? And, the story he tells is, well, they gave me 12 pairs of jeans, Mr. Pointer. It's a great thing. And these are his words. This is the story he tells everybody when he first met. Yeah. Some bulldogger, it could have been a Tyler Pearson or a Waggis Pack, some guy. And he was like, what? I mean, I would give you 100 pair of jeans for that on your shirt. And the next thing you know, he's doing research, looking into it, buys a saddle company, buys some ranching property, leaves on the water in Florida, 3-story bachelor pad like you wouldn't believe, buys a ranch, buys another ranch. And the next thing you know, it's like, okay, let's start sponsoring athletes and helping these guys realize their worth. Right. And then the cattle followed, and then the horse training operations followed, and then we've started to try to figure out ways to diversify. And I wanted to do this podcast for 3 years. I talked to my sister Ivy about it, my mother, Dustin, various people about doing it, but I was a little scared to start it because 3 years ago, there was nothing like this.
Right.
And we were talking about this in the truck coming over here, that rodeo has an old mentality, which is great. That's one of the things I love about the sport. It's like, God damn, this is heritage like you wouldn't believe. It's camaraderie like you wouldn't believe. And you'll hear it on about every Gage episode there is, that's important. But introducing new to a old mindset industry, sometimes it doesn't go over well. The fear was that maybe it wouldn't be received well, or why is this guy talking about it? He doesn't have a gold buckle, whatever. Decided to let that go. And just,
kind of like the Dale Brisby.
Well, Dale, one thing about...
An image.
Yeah, one thing about him
Yeah.
is he came at it from an entertainer standpoint like nobody else, which I respect the heck out of.
Absolutely.
It is funny. Everything he does is funny, and rodeo needs that. I mean, not everybody who influences... take the UFC, for example. Probably their most influential person never fought in the octagon, Joe Rogan.
Sure.
Not a minute. Now, he announced, he did all that, but he's probably influenced that sport more than anybody else, and he never spent 1 second in the octagon. But he's the biggest proponent of growth for that sport, and no one speaks on behalf of those athletes more than he does. And so that was kind of my mindset. It's like, okay, I grew up rodeoing. My entire family, for 2 generations, it's the only way they've ever made money. I thought it'd be the only way I would make money. I decided to opt out of that at a certain point. It's like, gosh, dang, I would like to have a little bit of money in my pocket at some point. I would like a nice pickup.
Sure.
I would like a nice house. And it's just these things. So I decided to go the business route instead. But long story short, because actually you're supposed to be the guest, not me.
No, this is great.
Yeah. Well, just because people have a lot of questions.
He's making it very easy for me.
Right. Right. I can't tell you how many DMs I get on social media. What's 12 Gauge Ranch? Where'd the gauge come from? Where did all this come from? It's like, well, the gauge came from initially my brain, and then a collective group of people who represented 12 Gauge Ranch to help launch it. Now we're we run this podcast like a business. We run 12 Gauge Ranch because it is a business.
Sure.
Which is why our content comes out being so good, because we plan it, we execute it, we do things that others don't do. Because I feel like podcasting is probably the most important media source for people on a regular basis, especially in our industry, because everybody's driving.
Sure.
So it works out. But 12 Gauge Ranch is a ranch, people. It's a ranch. And actually, we'll probably do an episode at some point where we just talk about all that. But yeah. I mean, the rest is kind of history. And I would think a lot of people would say that there's not many outfits like us who stand up for the cowboy and trying to make sure the cowboys get treated right like 12 Gauge Ranch does. Anybody who's signed on our team will tell you that.
Well, you came on board with 12 Gauge Ranch, and I got the story from Oak Berry.
Yep.
And I had to go to Wrangler. I didn't go to the PRCA until after I went to Wrangler.
Right.
About getting approval for 12 Gauge Ranch to be represented. So, but they got it.
Yeah.
The Wrangler folks, like, look, they're not in the apparel business.
No.
They're actually a ranch.
Yep.
And this guy has a passion for rodeo. Why should we stop him?
Well, absolutely.
So that was their response, which was
that's the
very
best
respectable.
response.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's good, though, because it could have went a different way. It could be like, oh, no, these guys are in competition. And that's the fear that we've had with the gauge because it's so big.
Well, people just went on your website and saw you had shirts and hats and stuff for sale and thought you were an apparel company.
Right. I mean, but the way that we kind of like look at the sweatshirt I'm wearing, Rig and Rally, right? It was promoting an event. It's like they're not an apparel company. No, they're just promoting what they're doing.
Right.
And it's very similar for us, right? We've got merch coming out for the gauge because at this point, I can't answer any more requests for hats and T-shirts. Okay, we're going to have to try to find a way to give people what they're asking for. But we're not a T-shirt company.
Right.
So it's just kind of the way it is. But anyways, I've hijacked this whole thing.
Are we done?
Enough. Hold on now. No.
Time to wrap up now.
Relax.
It's a wrap.
What you're actually here for is to discuss a few things. First and foremost, there's been a big change in the wind as far as the National Finals Rodeo is concerned. Today, what's the date, Ty? 10th?
Today is the 9th.
The
September 9th at 12.
Yeah. So 1 hour ago, the official announcement for the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo coming to Arlington just took place.
Yes, sir.
So, which I will say was kind of why we have you here.
very exciting.
Yep.
You know, if Las Vegas couldn't offer the fan base, the contestants, based on our restrictions, the government for the whole COVID-19 deal, applaud the PRCA for doing what they're doing, moving forward, to get everything that Las Vegas has to offer for the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo, and try to bring it to the Texas area, Arlington, Fort Worth, wherever. So there will be a lot going on here in December, and from your governor, he says he's ready. So here we come.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting is it's been hard to kind of keep our mouths shut because we've kind of had inside information for so long. But now that's kind of out, it's like there were how many places being looked at to host this event?
At least a half dozen. In the PRCA, they did their homework. I mean, they went from Oklahoma to South Dakota they were all over. And, you know, of course, all the fake news came out, all the rumors came out, but they were just doing their job. You know, they wanted to go and see what had to offer the best product for what they were wanting to do. So, Texas won. That's fantastic. We're excited. We're happy to be involved and assist with the PRCA in any way that we can. I respect the decisions that they've made as far as, look, we're not in the exhibit show business, but we did a survey, right? We put a survey out there. We did it together, the PRCA Las Vegas events, and the survey came back and said, hey, the number one, other than the actual Wrangler NFR rodeo that takes place at the Thomas and Mack, other than that, what's the number one NFR experience that you would love to have wherever this event venue goes? So when they came back, over 90% said Cowboy Christmas. So they're like, wow, we got to figure out a way how to do that. So
right, because there's a lot of buzz going around social media right now, just from random people, because everybody wants to know. In fact, there's people that I've seen just from flipping through Facebook like every one of us does periodically, probably every single day, hours a day, right? It's just that thing that people do now.
Yes, sir.
Saying that there is no Cowboy Christmas, or
right.
They haven't announced there's a Cowboy Christmas. But there's always, if the rodeo was coming to any place, there was going to be a Cowboy Christmas, right? There was never a discussion that there was not going to be.
Yeah, it's become a staple with the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo. So it gives the opportunity for the sponsors, for a lot of those to get a return on their investment. And, you know, our crowd that we draw at the convention center in Las Vegas is over 230,000 people over the 10 days versus 175,000 at the Thomas and Mack. So there is an interest, and we want to be able to help the PRCA and bring that event to the Fort Worth area.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it does pose some problems, though, right?
Oh, sure.
Based on just distance between actual areas you could host these
you know, we do. We spoil our fans. We spoil anybody that comes to Las Vegas with the airport being that close, with the hotels being that close, and what those hotels can offer. I'm not cutting on the hotels here. We're going to give them a shot and see what they can bring to the table. And hey, I'm sure they'll step up. But yeah, we do spoil them. It's Thomas and Mack. We offer the shuttle buses that, you know, my coworker Tim Keener works very hard on, and that's a convenience that's not sure what's going to happen here yet. So
right.
We'll do everything we can to make it a better experience for the NFR fans. So
sure. Okay, so let's rewind just real quick. Let's go to the March, April time period when the whole COVID thing kind of hit.
Yeah.
Right. You working, and what's your official position with LVE?
So I'm the vice president of corporate marketing.
Yep.
So I basically take the events that come to Las Vegas and connect them with the hotels. So our overall motto, let's put butts in beds with what we do in Las Vegas. So most of those events citywide, right? So I'm also the general manager for the Junior World Finals.
Yep.
So,
which is another question I've got, and I don't mean to jump around, but I can't tell you how many people are asking about the Junior World Finals. Yes. What's the plan there? Has that plan been executed yet, or at least?
So we still have a lot of conversations to have with the PRCA and with what they have to offer. But you know, God bless them. They've put a hold on a lot of the things that they know that we all needed to create this NFR experience. So yeah, we have a couple venues that we've looked at. I went down and looked at one today that could actually.
I'm sure you can't tell me what that venue is, right?
Well, this venue is a venue that will for sure probably help us with our stalls that are needed.
Okay.
With our hookups that are needed.
WR.
Yeah. So not sure if the event will go there. Like I said, we have to have conversations with the folks at in Fort Worth. In the stockyards, an option.
Well, it would make sense to do it at Will Rogers, though, right? Just, I mean, they do the Patriot there, and,
Sure.
and they've got the stalls,
Sure.
and
Yep.
I mean, that's probably the perfect place for that.
That's I'm not sure what would be available there.
Sure.
PRCA has that information, but we're going to look at the Cowtown Coliseum.
Yeah.
That could be a location. I think there are some other things that could also take place there at the Cowtown Coliseum in the evening, or possibly even who knows what the opportunities are there. So
Sure.
But if that's an option, that's something definitely we will consider.
Sure.
But we also went down to the in Alvarado. That's the location that we looked at today.
Oh, sure. Yep.
So they have a very nice facility, a very nice
They do.
arena down there.
A lot of people stay there during the
It kind of
American.
takes us away from where the where the mob will be, I guess. Stockyards would be an awesome location. If we can work something out in that area, I think the fans would have a nice daytime experience with the Junior World Finals. And I think those kids, last year we had over 800 kids compete in that event. And
Right.
It's we want to do everything we can to deliver that experience for these kids. So, the PRCA, I was telling you, they've offered up some nice things for those kids. So if we could take our champions we do 5 days, first 5 days is our rough stock events. And then Monday we crown those champions for those events. Well, they actually offered to take those kids into the dirt at the Globe Life Stadium.
Sure.
And let those kids be recognized and present them with their buckles. So from Montana Silversmith. And then also, we'll do it again on Saturday night if we can work things out with, Glenn Allen Phillips, the new general manager for the NFR. He's been amazing, very, very accommodating with the PRCA and us. That's got to be a tough job, but he's making things happen, and he's been very patient with all this, the whole situation. So kudos to Glenn Allen Phillips.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
I mean, none of this at any level in Las Vegas events with the PRCA. I mean, if you're involved in this, it's a high stress, strenuous situation. I mean, I don't think any of us realized that rodeo could be thrown off track this much by anything. As a whole.
You're right. I mean, but if you've seen any of the Cowboy Channel, any of the events that have taken place here recently, some of the rodeos, and you watch, just like the Reagan rally you just went to, right?
Yep.
Rain or high water, the event still took place, and
Well, and you know what I'll tell you? We were there at the Reagan rally this whole time.
Right.
It was a great event. Steiners and that Derby Pro Rodeo Association
Mm-hmm.
there, alongside Yellowstone and everybody who sponsored the event, Resist All Us, so on, pulled that off like nothing else.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a challenge because the weather came in. It was pouring down rain. It was absolutely freezing, and there was like 3 inches of standing water. The day before it was 90 degrees. We were sweating our butts off.
right,
Us,
and that could
our
happen here
production-
too, right?
It's happening right now. It's pouring rain right now. But which that's Texas.
Yeah.
But
The rain just followed us.
it's how it feels, right? But we were set up in a specific area. Did a full test. Did our full he calls it a dress rehearsal. I
Sure.
don't really do that, but we set up our whole deal, and the day of the event, this weather comes in, and we had to completely move all of our equipment, our whole stage, our whole setup into a 10 barn. Luckily, they had like a little practice stage
Sure.
for one of the bands for that town, and we ended up Hui ended up coming out of that, and they took our old spot, and it ended up working out, but. All that was going on, and we were like, well, they sold 2,500 tickets for this deal. Nobody's going to show up. It's freezing. It's pouring down rain. there might have been 3,500 people who showed up. People were standing everywhere to watch this event.
I saw a lot of yellow jackets. There was in the rain.
Everybody was wearing slickers. Yeah, I mean, there was mud and cold and all these things, but the fans of Rodeo showed up. And this is in a small town of like 700 people, right? Biggest town within an hour.
So is this the first
Missoula.
time for that?
For the Riggin Rally?
Yeah.
Second. They did one in Weatherford.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it just showed how resilient our fandom is in a place like that. So I think every seat at Globe Life is probably going to sell out because we just reposted the stuff and it's been shared hundreds of times and people are like, tickets.
Sure.
It's painful, but it's going to deliver.
Who knows what's going to happen? I mean, right now I believe Texas is at a 35% occupancy for those venues. So at 35%, you're looking at roughly 15,000 seats for season ticket holders, maybe an additional 3,000 for the suite. So, I mean, you're right there. That's exactly what Thomas and Mack offers. Real close, a little less than that, but it's real close. So it could be a successful event. We'll see when the tickets get released and go on sale.
Do we know when tickets are going to go on sale officially?
We do. I don't think that announcement's being made till later.
Sure. Or you wouldn't be able to probably disclose the pricing of said tickets.
I tell you what, they do have twice as many Go Buckle seats than we do at the Thomas and Mack.
Sure.
So I think they're looking at 900 seats. So that could be an opportunity for somebody that is a season ticket holder that may want to upgrade. Or I really don't know how the PRCA is going to do that, but I know they're going to take care of their sponsors. They're going to take care of the contestants, the livestock contractors, and of course, all those guys are a priority. But, you have some season ticket holders that have been out there for 30, 35 years. So the Cotton Rosters of the world, who's our largest season ticket holder, so individually, right? So,
right.
But then you look at those season ticket holders that come out of Vegas. Our hotel properties own a lot of those season tickets. So, we'll see what happens, but
because you work directly with the hotels in Vegas, I mean, Vegas, they're in a pretty bad spot right now.
Yeah.
What was the reaction from the hotels when they found out that they weren't going to have one of their biggest events?
Well, they just found out, just as you guys did.
Yeah.
So,
so you don't know. You've got to answer those phone calls and put out those fires.
I'll trade you phones. I know yours is busy also, but I'll trade you.
No, thank you. I'll take what I'm dealing with over that. I do not want to be the guy who tells,
I was reading some articles from Vegas about the NFR moving. The quotes were not nice.
No. Just we have to comfort that and just say, hey, look, guys, this is a 1-year deal. It's best for the event. It's best for the PRCA. It's not what we were having to offer in Las Vegas. And, Michael Gahn, he's the king, when it comes to rodeo. And that guy, he put everything out on the table that he could with restrictions that he was limited to. But it wasn't, it's not our brand, right? That's not who the rodeo world is
because
without fans, right?
Your option for Vegas was fanless rodeo. So it wouldn't help the hotels anyway.
That's right. You go fanless, why spend the money that everybody, you just can't, no viewing parties, no Cowboy Christmas, no Junior World Finals. It just did not make sense.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, because you guys are a Las Vegas-based company anyway, but was there a point in time where you thought maybe, because you had to work with the governor or the mayor, or how did that work with Las Vegas? Was it the mayor mostly, or? I
tell you, Pat Christensen, my boss, they're every Friday they do 1-2 hour. It's called the Vegas Events Corona. VECC is what they called it, and they had the hotels represented. Everybody was represented on that call, and they did everything they could possible to try to make things better. And how are we going to move forward with events, especially the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo? So it was just tough. It never did. We got worse before, and it could happen. You get good and then you get bad. So it was just a decision that the PRCA made the right call, and we were supporting it.
I mean, that they didn't really have a choice, right?
They didn't.
From a payout. So if you're a competitor, right? If you think about what the effect of not having, just revenue wise,
sure,
it changes the entire thing, right? And who wants to go to a 10-day rodeo that has no fans, that doesn't have that experience? It's like, that's 10 days of jackpotting, basically.
Yeah,
That sounds like a shit show to me.
not a good experience for
Yeah.
anybody. Of course, Michael Gone and the South Point, they would have made it everything they could.
Right.
But then again, their hands were tied also.
When did the official declaration come down from the local government that you would not be able to have a fan road? Or, of course, they probably didn't announce it just to you guys.
Well,
it
you
was
just-
everybody.
you
The
get to
UFC
the-
was in the same boat.
You're right. You get to a point where you just have to make a call.
Right.
Who knows? Come December, we may be at 35%. Right.
Sure.
But there was considerations for still at the Thomas and Mack. There were considerations for even an outdoor venue. But again, it wasn't our brand. It's not
Sure.
not what we want to put out there on the table. And our chair of our board, he knows what he's talking about. So he's like, guys, let the PRCA go make this what they can do with it. And dang, they come out shooting. So,
I mean, if you're gonna, have they had a single event at that Globe Life Arena yet? I mean, they just finished construction on that place.
I
right?
think the announcement is this is the first non-baseball event.
Right.
Yeah, it's gonna be the first non-baseball event with fans. They've had
Right.
they've had baseball games,
Oh,
there,
they
but
have.
but
Okay.
nothing else.
Okay. Wow. Good.
I mean, that in itself's pretty
Yeah.
exciting. I mean, I don't know.
Very.
Did you get a chance to even cruise over there yet, just to see it?
I was.
Or were you
I've
there for
been
the American?
I've been there
right
and-
across the street.
Yes, sir. And I was at the old location for the Academy of Country Music Awards. So,
Right.
yeah, it's a beautiful area.
It's a
Right.
Really, I mean, gosh, talk about Vegas growing fast. That area there just on fire.
Oh, it's that park is just insane.
Yeah.
I've been to that new park because I was actually able to cover a Rangers game one time. It's a pretty ballpark. Also, it feels
I can
amazing
imagine.
to be in 70-degree weather when it's 100 outside for a baseball game.
So retractable roof. I have you.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like AT&T in that regard.
Yes.
Actually, it looks a little nicer. It's a little more modern because it's new. But anyway, so kind of back to this is what happens on this show is we start like I asked this question.
always
let's-
rambling.
Let's go back and then forget that. We'll talk about that later. But anyway, one thing that's really interesting for
I'm
you
just
guys that
following
I
your
wanted to-
lead, Chance.
well, yeah. which is why we are playing ping pong with our words. But the challenges that were presented to you guys as a company because of COVID-19, I mean, that's something that really interests me is talking to big organizations like yourself and how you handled that, how you were able to mitigate whatever losses you could, how you guys utilized things like PPP loans and SBAs, if that was even a thing that you guys did to keep your company afloat during this. I mean, because if you're a Las Vegas event company and they shut down all of Las Vegas, what does that do to a company your guys' size?
So just kind of we are partners with the convention center,
Right.
And R&R partners. R&R promotes the destination as a whole. So what happens in Vegas, that's R&R,
Right.
And then the convention center, they control our budget. They're the public side. They do get involved in some events, but more on the advertising, promoting Las Vegas as a destination. We're private, nonprofit Las Vegas events, and there's only now just 15 of us.
Sure.
So our budget is controlled by the convention center. Our offices are closed. Given this opportunity to work with the PRCA to not only protect our brand, being Las Vegas in the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo, but also, we get involved with the sponsors. We have sponsors of our own for this event. We know they're going to be here. And then Cowboy Christmas, we got to be here for our exhibitors. And then, Las Vegas Events has the season ticket. We control the database for the season ticket holders. But working very close with the PRCA on that this year, of course. So there's a lot that, what is the income for us on this? There's no outcome, meaning that there's no money going out.
Sure.
So whatever we do here, me being here, our staff being here, whatever that is, it has to be included in the budget. But I'm sure that what we have to bring in the experience that we have for the PRCA, we can do this. We can work together as a team and still make it a great event, Cowboy Christmas, the whole NFR experience. So
Sure.
that's why we're still here. Now, we still work on events for next year. I don't think that the New Year's celebration has been canceled yet. So unless something happened that I don't know about, but Tim Keener works with the hotels, and we close the strip down and we shoot the fireworks off. So I don't know what that's going to look like, or even if it'll happen, but it's still on the table.
Guys, it's not audio only. The Gauge is on YouTube. Every single episode's on YouTube. We got 4K cameras, the best stuff. Check it out on YouTube if you want to see faces. Bright, smiling faces. We don't just use this lighting for nothing. We video it. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit the notification bell. Lots of people are watching the videos, but not a lot of people are subscribing. Please help me. Help us. Help the Gauge. Subscribe on YouTube.
This is realistic.
Yep.
What's your average hotel room night going to be in Texas during the NFR?
Oh, God, who even knows? I mean,
$250 a night?
Oh, or more. I mean, I can tell you right
$300?
now, because you're staying at the Hilton right now in Fort Worth, which is one of our corporate partners for the show. And I mean, I won't disclose pricing, but it's not too terribly far from that in a regular point in time, right? But you've got the Hilton, the Omni, and then you've got whatever's down there. And then you've got the other hotels in the surrounding area. There's some couple hotels by the stadium in Arlington, but you're not going to be able to, if you fly in, you're going to have a hell of a time getting rental cars. And
how's your Uber, Lyft?
So Uber and Lyft, it's no problem. It's fine. But you're talking about an Uber ride from, we'll use the Hilton where you're staying, to Arlington, plus whatever they tack on in addition for the event. Because as we know, like you get an Uber in Vegas during the NFR, there's a huge premium on what that Uber costs when there's something going on.
Sure.
Just in Vegas in general. But are they going to increase the prices of their Ubers here? Yeah, of course they are.
Sure.
So what's it going to cost you? $40 to get from?
I know it's $100 during the American to go from the stockyards to AT&T. It's $100.
It's a major downplay with DFW, just with as much as how big is it as it is, how many people you can have. The distance between stuff is just, that's not easy to manage, especially for people that are coming in as tourists.
But you all are used to that. I mean, it's...
Well, we are and we aren't, right? I mean,
Yeah.
For us, if you think about what we do, right? For us, just for the Gauge, right? It's from the airport to here, to the hotel, to the airport, to the hotel back here. So just for our production, it's no problem for us. But for the American, 3 days of the American is exhausting for me, right? Even just going to watch, and then you go and you politic, you do all the things you do when you have one of these events, right? Because I have the benefit of living here, but when we fly people in, I mean, you get a hotel in downtown Fort Worth, right? So you go from there to the American. When that's all done, because it goes for so long, you go try to find somewhere to eat, you do all of that, and then before you know it, it's midnight, and you do it all again. What is this going to be like for 10 days, right? That's the one thing about Vegas is...
I would never want to compete against the hotel properties.
No. Well,
I mean, with the restaurants and the entertainment, I mean... I told you we had 62 concerts last year just over the 10 nights of the NFR.
Right.
Who can do that? I mean, who can have an average hotel room rate of $125 in December? It's a slow time in Vegas in December. It's not our peak. So the properties, the hotel casino properties, they can do that, and it just makes it that much more attractive for the Wrangler NFR fans. You know, that's just for anybody.
Well, and it's this destination where you can do so much, right? Because I mean, this is kind of the ritual that everybody does, right? You get your hotel. You set up, you go to Cowboy Christmas, you go back to you eat, and then you go to the NFR. It's run so efficiently at Thomas and Mack that you're in and out of there in an hour and a half, and then you're heading to an after party, right? And you just do that 10 nights in a row, basically. I don't see how you can do that here, right? I mean, Texas has got to be excited, right? I mean, they got to be excited because of the way their tax revenues
and
work.
I'm sure we are all excited to be here, just to
actually
have
be
the
able
opportunity,
to do it,
right? Yeah,
because there was conversations that there would be no NFR period.
Right.
That was going around for what? 4 months, that it's possible that it just isn't going to happen. I can tell you from talking to family.
That was going to happen until Michael Gahn stepped up.
Right.
And made them basically their best offer at that time, right? So they used that as their gauge when they went out and looked at these other locations, did all the numbers, put everything together. The PRCA, wonderful job, right? They just, and now here we are.
Right. And, people are, competitors were frustrated. People were frustrated because they're like, we don't know what to do. But that's not necessarily the PRCA's fault or Wrangler NFR's fault. You guys didn't, as a whole, right, including everybody who's involved in the event, no one had any clue what was going on, just like no one knew what was going on with COVID-19 or these economic issues. I mean, we've got another business that it was day-to-day on us knowing what we were going to be able to do and not do, and it was no different for you guys or the PRCA. It was no one knew. So you have to have a little bit of empathy for these organizations based on that.
Yep. So right. It just there's still a lot of unknowns, but you know the PRC has a plan on and an agenda on how they want to release this information, and kudos to them. We're going to do our best to respect their wishes and release that information when they allow us to. I'm sure that our producers for the Junior World Finals, I'm sure that our exhibitors for Cowboy Christmas would just love to know what they know, right? Our PRCA knows right now, but you know, we got to take this one step at a time and do it right and make sure we are doing it right.
Sure.
So we don't want to put any fake news out there or start any rumors. I mean, that's in any world that you live in the business world, that happens. But
right.
So they're doing their best to manage it, and we want to support it.
Sure. Let me ask you this: was there ever a time where Las Vegas events may have not been involved in the NFR this year?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So from what my boss told me, Mr. George Taylor went to the chair of our board and asked if it was possible that he could utilize the staff and the knowledge and the experience that we have with this event and create the NFR experience wherever the NFR, Wrangler NFR was going. So and Bill Macbeth's like, let's do it. Of course, we had to go through other approval processes, but that to me is just, you know, it lit me up, obviously.
Sure.
So I'm here.
Right. What was it ever contentious? Was there ever a period of time during those negotiations where it got heated or it got contentious about it? Like, hang on, guys.
It did not. From what of course, I'm not at the level my boss is, and he answers to, you know, his board, and he had discussions with them. Wow, 2, 3, 4 times a day.
Sure.
The different board members, and then he also had he kept Mr. George Taylor in the loop, and George kept Pat in the loop. So this is probably this is my opinion, but this is probably one of the best years that the PRCA and Las Vegas events is on the same page and working together to deliver what we can for the NFR experience and the Wrangler NFR here in Texas. So we're excited.
Yeah, I mean, I think now that we know the direction we're all going, right? I mean, I can tell you that we're excited because it's in our backyard.
Absolutely.
It makes things much easier for us. Like, wow, you mean I can sleep in my own bed and I don't have to stay at a hotel in Vegas? Okay, that sounds nice. But even still, I think there's probably a lot of challenges ahead for you guys, for the PRCA, for anybody who's really involved, whether it be at the grassroots level or at the very top, the top of the executive boards and what have you, to actually execute this and have it go off without a hitch, which it's probably a tall order,
You
right?
know, with any event, right, there are hitches.
Yep.
But hopefully the fans don't know. Hopefully the contestants don't know. Hopefully those are things that can be controlled and not looked at as a hitch.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny because we've got Gage staffers who were at that press conference, and we were kind of organizing getting you here while that was all going on.
Yeah.
So I haven't got to see anything about it, but you were telling
Me
me
either.
a few things. But I mean, it almost, I don't know if we can
Hey,
talk about
Texas
this.
should rally, right?
Yeah.
I mean, for the opportunity that Texas has to host this, I mean, this is the world final. This is the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo, and it's like having the Super Bowl here in Fort Worth, in Dallas, in Arlington.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Of course
major.
they're going to want it.
Absolutely, and I'm sure they're going to welcome all of us with open arms and treat us to the best. But it's unfortunately this COVID-19 thing is going to be something we all are dealing with, and Texas is dealing with it the way they have to, and Vegas is dealing with it the way they have to. But we have to do whatever we can to just make this a great experience for the fans. And I just we're going to welcome the Wrangler National Finals back in Las Vegas, hopefully next year.
Wait, what do you mean, hopefully?
Well, I just hope this COVID thing doesn't restrict it. So anyway, I hate that topic, right? I start typing it on my phone and it automatically spells it all out. It's just so popular.
The fact, it's horrible, right? Because there's just
frustrating.
You could go back historically and look at things that I've personally said, right? Where it's like, there is no freaking way that some virus is going to shut down Pendleton. There's no way some virus is going to shut down Cheyenne Frontier Days.
There
is no freaking way.
Calgary, even. Come on.
There's no way that the NFR is not going to Thomas and Mack. What are we even talking about?
How would you like to be Rodeo Houston? I mean, man.
Shut down in the middle of your event.
I know.
Finished at Stockyards? That doesn't even make sense if you say it. I wouldn't have believed it.
We received calls from those exhibitors that were at Rodeo Houston, and it was devastating for them. And we had a few phone calls from exhibitors that are not at Cowboy Christmas, and they're like, hey, how can I get into Cowboy Christmas? If there's an opportunity for me to make that money that we lost there, I want that opportunity. Well, we had 175 applications that we had to put on, they were on hold. We were already full, and we had another 175 that applied, and we couldn't do anything with them, even if we could have it in Vegas. So I'm positive that Cowboy Christmas here in Texas is going to be exciting. We're going to be packed. The exhibitors, the sponsors, everybody involved is excited about it, and we're going to do our best, working hip to hip with the PRCA and making this thing just, it's not going to be the same, but can it be great? Sure, it can be great. So
it can be great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it will be. I mean, it is a good place, and there's a great energy here for the sport of rodeo. Yep. Historically, Texas it's rodeo.
It is rodeo. It is rodeo. And, like I said, we'll welcome all the fans, all the sponsors, come on down to Cowboy Christmas, come on down to the Junior World Finals. Those announcements will be made here shortly. But we
don't want to just leak it. Everything else is getting leaked, bro.
I get in trouble for that. So, so I just want to. They're great locations. Wherever they're going to be great locations, and but nothing will compare to Las Vegas. It's, we talked already, Chance, rodeo's a tradition, right? And the Wrangler NFR has become a tradition in Vegas, and
it's the rodeo tradition.
Yeah.
The reason you have so many season ticket holders, because everybody plans their year around
it. Absolutely. Some people take their vacations just probably as they do in Houston or Calgary or wherever else to make that a bigger and better event for them. But, we have a contract with the PRCA that'll get us through 2024. With the deal coming here to Texas this year, I know there were conversations.
You just made an amendment to that contract, I'm assuming.
Yeah. But there's no contract, so the PRCA is free to do whatever really they want to do. But I just again applaud them for wanting to work with us to keep things respectable. So that's rewarding. So, but there was conversations that we may have a 1-year extension on the contract. I don't know where that went, but we'd love to say, hey, we're going to be here through 2025. But things change every year, so not sure when we'll start a new conversation with the PRCA to keep the Wrangler NFR in Las Vegas. So
a lot's changed with the NFR. I mean, just from where it's being broadcasted. I mean, it going from CBS Sports to Cowboy Channel, very controversial thing.
Yeah, sure.
So I think it could be a similar. I would just assume it stays in Vegas, but then again, I've been wrong on about every single thing I predicted this year. So
I'm gonna write this down.
Yeah.
Take note.
Yeah, exactly. But I am feeling very thankful as both a fan of rodeo and as somebody whose career is kind of based around it, just like yours. that it's happening. I mean, thank the freaking Lord there's an NFR this year.
Absolutely.
So, and I think everybody in the top 15 can kind of take a collective sigh of relief that it is coming to Texas and it is being promoted this much, because that round money is going to be more than maybe they thought it was going to be.
Well,
initially.
it's definitely more than what Vegas had to offer, but we hope it for the contestants' sake, for the sponsors, the exhibitors, the Junior World Finals, that we can all come together and try not to make too many changes on that end of it, as far as the benefit and the payouts and
and that's
return on investment. So
it's more important than ever for the contestants to be able to make money at this event because of how much money was robbed from each and every one of them this year.
100%.
By no fault of PRCA or any single rodeo association. I mean, it was the state of the world that robbed each and every contestant and vendor, you name it. Anybody who's involved in the sport of rodeo was absolutely blindsided and robbed.
Every dollar that can be added to that pot is well deserved to those contestants, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And let's just cross our fingers and hope that it's pretty dang close to what the normal round money is for their sake.
We would love that.
Yep.
We would 100% love that.
Well, perfect. Is there any other inside information you want to divulge?
Don't put me on the spot.
Give us the good stuff.
Yeah. What's the good stuff, as Ty just said? I mean, to be honest, I think that covered a lot.
There's a lot of obviously social media. There were rumors out there of it going to Tulsa or Oklahoma or these other locations. And so, I think that's great. I think that, and that's just, like I said, PRCA doing their job. So, yeah, were they in Tulsa? Of course they were in Tulsa. They were down there and did what
Oklahoma
they had to do
City,
there.
Naturally.
Absolutely.
I mean, it started there, so.
They were down there. So, but I think they made the right choice. And we're going to support it 100%.
Well, and between you, me, and the wall behind you, there's no way it could have went to Lazy E. That there's just been too many events there this year.
Yeah,
even though it's a great place.
I don't know. I've been there. It's a great facility.
It's amazing,
and it does a wonderful job with what they have. But for the Wrangler National Finals to be there, is that the brand? I don't know. I think the PRCA did a wonderful job in securing a venue that I think we talked about earlier. This is the first time a ticketed event other than baseball will be held at that venue. So
right.
That's an story within itself. So.
I mean, and there's some wow factor there, even for somebody like Ty, who's not a rodeo fan. Like when you hear, because you are a baseball fan, that the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo is coming to Texas Rangers Stadium. I mean, that's just a badass statement in itself, kind of.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a new stadium. It's finally gets its first fan event finally, and this is a stadium that I would say the local people have been excited to actually go to, especially with how damn hot in Texas it is during the summer.
Well, and I'll say this.
So wait, when they close the roof, do they turn the air conditioner on?
Oh yes, it's again. I went to a game. It was a nice, cool 72 degrees when it was like 100 outside. I thought I needed a jacket in there.
Oh my.
Yeah, so
fantastic.
I mean that's amazing. I mean, luckily they're probably not going to have to turn the air on in December because it does get a little cold here in December. Yeah. But I will say that for fans of rodeo, I mean, it is kind of a beacon of hope that we're having the NFR because, I mean, depression's through the roof, suicide's through the roof. People are making less money than they ever had before. Our industry is being crushed along with virtually every other industry out there, except for Amazon for some reason. Lucky for him.
Well, everyone's at home, so.
Yep. But
Home Depot, Lowe's, all those places
they're killing it. But for our industry, it's been brutal and it's been tough, and it's just nice to kind of have this figured out.
But that's the willpower of this industry, though.
That's the cowboy way there.
It was so funny that when the whole COVID thing hit, you could actually ride a horse down the strip from one end to the other end, and that was happening, and it was just, it's crazy. So, yeah, the Cowboys survive.
Cowboy survives. Well, great. I'm so glad you took the time to come on the show, clear some of that out.
Thank you guys. This is amazing for me. The Gauge, what a great product, what a great brand. Kudos.
Appreciate that. Yeah,
absolutely.
We look forward to getting it on. I almost said in Vegas. In Arlington.
In Arlington, here we come.
All right, let's do her.
Get ready.
Oh, brother,
This has been The Gauge, hosted by me, Chance Conrado, produced and edited by our guy Ty Yeager. Shout out to the executive producers Dustin Pointer and Cody Denton. Marketing and content by Cassie Emerson. Our theme song is by Shay Ashshire and the Night Howlers. Make sure to rate and review this podcast, as well as follow The Gauge on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And make sure to subscribe to The Gauge wherever you get your podcast. We'll see you guys next time.